Good afternoon. Thank you for connecting and welcome to the American Business Podcast for the Next Generation. I'm Kevin Deveji, your host, and today we are with Eric Giampoli, and he's the guru of manufacturing that I always call him. He has a lot of background, a lot of insight about manufacturing, and as our goal in our podcast is to share wisdom and insight with the next generation. I'm I'm sure I'm confident that Eric has a lot of experience and insight to share with next generation workforce and next generation leaders. Eric, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to join.
Thank you very much. I'm excited for this conversation and looking forward to learning from you today and help you share your wisdom with our audience and our followers. So, for our listeners and audience, would you please introduce yourself and your company?
So my name is Eric Ciampoli. I founded a company called Eric Ciampoli Industrial Consultants. We help manufacturers around the tri-state area of New York improve their operations, as well as training their employees, redesigning their facilities, relocating their facilities, expanding and automating, and everything in between to provide the most effective cost solution for making goods here in a very expensive place.
Yes, absolutely. I know you are working with manufacturers on daily basis very closely. You see their challenges. You also learn from them. You also help them improve their business processes. It's very exciting. And when you look at your career, what did you make that decision? What did make you choose this career?
Well, I tell people when I tell people the honesty, it's like I didn't get along with my boss, so I wanted to go do things myself. He said no too much, and I didn't like no. So I started my own business, helping customers expand. I actually started working with our supply chain at a business I was working at and helping them improve their operations after hours, which helped our business because now their on time delivery improved. I I chose it too because I really like to share knowledge and teach people the things that I've learned because I've never been afraid to experiment. So I bring that experience of my tests gone well and some gone bad on what works and what doesn't work in an organization.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And I understand you see different challenges when you work with different manufacturers.
Yeah.
From this point of view, what are the challenging parts and exciting parts of your job, of your career?
Challenging parts are we can have great ideas, and those great ideas may be fantastic, but getting people to adopt change is really critical. Doesn't matter what the idea is if no one will adopt it, good or bad. And sometimes you need more of a commitment than you need a good idea in order to change your organization. So sometimes these resistance come from leadership because they're afraid to try something that may not work as planned, and so they become a little bit paralyzed and too much homeostasis. Change is good, it's not bad. So the challenging points are really is like how comfortable is the customer with change. If you're open to it, we can try great things and improve your organization. But if you don't change anything, we can't improve either.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, the change management, right,
Mm,
requires a leader, and you are part of that process, and you witness
yes,
the
and
mechanics of it.
repetition, absolute repetition. You got to say the same message over and over again and do not waver from it. And as long as you keep that consistent, people will start to believe the leadership. If you keep changing your recipe, no one believes anything you say.
Yes, that's an amazing insight.
Hmm.
Um, so, well, you experience different challenges with manufacturers. You help them improve their processes. Also, you observe the U.S. manufacturing,
Hmm.
and U.S. manufacturing is very important for our country, for our economy. And when it comes to U.S. manufacturing, every decision counts, right? So that's very
Yes.
important. From this point of view, how do you see the U.S. manufacturing and also in the region? So you work with manufacturers in New Jersey, in New York
Hmm.
metro area, as well as nationally. So how do you see the state of manufacturing, and also how they are evolving and what they should do to adapt? to change in market? I know these, there are a lot to unpack here, but I'm gonna let take your time to
Mm,
address the current status of manufacturing in US and in the region.
th- there are a list of things to cover here.
Yes.
I would say the current state of manufacturing is it's very healthy. There's a lot of demand for products that are made in our area. So the lack of demand does not exist like people think. There's lots of things going on. We make some amazing things that support a huge range of both government, military, consumer base. Everything's here in the tri-state area. You can find anything you want. You just got to look for it. Oh, I think right now there's a few headwinds for manufacturers that I've been trying to get some attention on, like the cost of rent. Right now, the current state of manufacturing is, yeah, the sales are healthy, but the cost of rent and insurance and taxes are really making it difficult for not only for them to maintain where they're at, but expansion becomes even more difficult. To add 100,000 square feet to grow your business, it's a scary undertaking. So there's lots of sales demand. There's some headwinds with the real estate cost. There's also headwinds with the availability of resources. Getting laborers on the island is becoming more and more challenging because of the cost of living. We're having the similar problems in New Jersey. The trade winds have shifted a little bit, as you see in the media. So the availability of general labor, especially in food, it's critical because a machine can't do everything. Automation is not applicable to everything in your manufacturing business. So some companies are evolving and they're offsetting some of this with adding automation where it works. Some of them were consolidating their facilities so that we can expand new products in the space that we save, so we don't have to lease more space, which is a good way to conserve cash. We're expanding different types of roles where, hey, I can't find this types of tech people, so we're working together to outsource some of those things with another group that I run, where we're offsetting that availability of staff. Like upstate New York is having this big challenge. There's only a small population in your neighborhood, and manufacturing, some of the stuff is commutable. You got to come to the office. Other things can be done remotely. So we're shifting things wherever it needs to go in order to staff that company so they can grow. You know, so there's been a lot of adaptation to remote work, hybrid work, automation, rethinking how we do things. We got to be more frugal with the space that we have. We can't just spread out. And some cases it's easy to do. Other ones are far more challenging, right? Expanding or consolidating in food is a lot more restricting than a warehouse or just general manufacturing, where you can pop a tent in the yard for a couple months and make some products and then take it down when the winter comes. Can't always do that with food.
Yes, 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 absolutely. Also, as a follow-up, we know supply chain issues is a top priority for manufacturers. So, what type of measures are manufacturers are taking nowadays to stabilize the supply chain and as well as to manage the cost?
Oh, this one gives me personal chest pains because it's such a big issue right now. Like it gives me like a little shortness of breath because two things are happening. You can't get things, so you have to buy more at a time. And then when you have to buy more, you need more space. And so warehouses are filling up with stuff just in case I need it. And the supply chain in some cases has stabilized, but other things are still uncertain. And so you buy as much as you can when you can get it, and price becomes secondary concern, which is a big issue in manufacturing, because as all of you know, in manufacturing, it's not huge margins. If you have big price increases on your supply side, that affects your bottom line like tomorrow, not in 3 months. It's tomorrow. And it's becoming a very high focal point area for manufacturers is who can I bring into my supply chain network? Who's already here? How can we improve delivery? And where am I going to put it?
Yes, these are critical questions to be addressed. Absolutely. Another challenge that we know in manufacturing is the talent acquisition and talent retention. In this sense, especially skilled workforce, right? Very important for manufacturing. How can
Mhm.
institutions such as community colleges, universities, how can they close the gap? You think? What is your take on that?
They're starting to do it now, although it feels like it's a little bit late. We're seeing more tech centers pop up to teach students welding, CNC machining, basic reading and creations of technical drawings, things that, not are not available in high school education. It would be nice to see high schools adopt it, and you have an option like you used to back in my day. You could take wood shop and learn how to make things. Like maybe take like a tech shop where you learn how to make an engineering
Mhm.
drawing and how to use AutoCAD and maybe how to weld. It's a, I mean, I use it sometimes at home. I got a
Mhm.
little welder, and sometimes you need it. And having the ability and the access to that talent, it's important. I think that the community colleges, they're doing a decent job. I wouldn't mind see more of an expansion. We need more women in the workforce that join this. Some of the best welders I've ever met were women. They're far more
Amazing.
patient
Yes,
and
absolutely.
making very very small welds. It's not a. It takes patience, not brute force, to do really good welding, and it'd be great to see a collaboration of men and women in high school engaging in these manufacturing activities. We need the people. If you're interested in making things, there's plenty of opportunities all throughout the tri-state area to put that excitement and your
Mhm.
passion to work.
Absolutely. And well, so in addition to the supply chain as well as the skilled workforce, what trends do you see? Do you foresee for high tech manufacturing in the region and in the nation? And how can
Oh,
manufacturers
it's
can position themselves for these technologies?
well, it's happening right now. 3 years ago, I'd have conversations about automating a warehouse, and people would laugh at me. It's like, why would I do that? I can get 10 guys, and well, now the conversations are, how fast do you think I could get it? Because you can't get you can't just post a job on the front of the building and get 20 applicants to work in your warehouse anymore or in your facility. Never mind the
Mhm.
skilled labor, just general labor market is becoming
Yes.
scarce. So the conversations about
Mhm.
adoption of tech and automation, they're far more prominent than they once were years back. So the conversations are shifting towards, you know, how cheap can I do it, to how much capacity do you think we can get from this
Mhm.
investment? And it's changing the way warehouses are designed. I'm starting to work with more vendors from around the world to do completely lights out
Mhm.
warehouses where two operators are picking and no one's walking up and down aisles. The little bots are moving thing and bringing those items to the picker. So product to pick instead of pick to product. It really dramatically changes the demand for your workforce because now you can pick all the orders in a day that would require 10 people with just two, maybe three. And it's the conversations are becoming more advanced, and how do we use this technology, how fast, and how do we expand it, because every business needs to plan for whatever you're doing today plus the next 10 years. You cannot plan yourself into a corner thinking that this will be the forever solution. And that's where automation sometimes gets a bad
Mhm.
rap. Customers will, hey, I need to automate this one job, let's automate it. And I'm like, well, how else can we utilize this technology and make it as flexible as possible so that you can take your investment and expand it to anything that might show up, or as much as possible without, you know scope creep into oblivion, which I'm sure you're
Mhm.
familiar with, Kevin, in the tech field. The scope could never end if you let
Yes.
it. So what can we use technology for so that we can get the most out of it now,
Mhm.
tomorrow, and 10 years in the future? Because these investments are not cheap. They're a lot. You need to plan for the future, not just for today. And these conversations have been a lot of fun because it's very exciting to see this shift. Not that I want to put, millions of dollars into everyone's automated warehouse, but the reality is
Mhm.
here. If I need 10 people to pick and I can only get two, there are orders that aren't going to ship.
True.
And that's a real problem for the business and for the customer. If you stop shipping on time, your customers find someone that will. You don't want to be that third choice when someone else failed. You want to be the first choice because you're always on time. And it's a real live everyday issue for every manufacturer in our community. Is Where do I get the staff? How do I improve? My sales are growing, but how do I facilitate it so I don't fail in the process? I was having a conversation yesterday with a startup food company. The broker is so excited about their products, and she's sitting there on the other side of the table just worried about, if I get a big order, what's going to happen? And I'm like, well, we're not there yet. We're preparing for that. But her fear was
Mhm.
failure. And customers that are 10, 20 years in business are starting to have those same thoughts: is, if I'm successful, when this order comes through, how am I going to deliver it? How is my supply chain going to follow up and fulfill my needs so that I can fulfill the customer's needs? And it's an exciting time because there's opportunities and technology there that is not as expensive as it
Mhm.
once was, and it's readily available from a lot of different competitors. So you can push on each one to get the best technology that they're good at it and integrate it into your manufacturing facility. And a great place to start is in simple mundane tasks. You can't automate everything, but if you can take automation and you can apply it to a person so that you can make a person twice as productive, you're winning.
Yes. Yes, that's critical. Also, how about AI? So, well, in some form, we are all experiencing AI nowadays in our lives, in our
Hmm.
businesses. It's more accessible than before, more affordable than before, more practical than before. I like to learn your take on AI, how AI will change our lives and our businesses. You can also, craft it from a manufacturing point of view as well, if you like.
Yeah. So AI is changing even the way I run my business. I'm an engineer by trade. I'm not an English major or a novelist. So I use the technology to rewrite things that I'm writing in my proposals, and as well as emails, to say, hey, I want this to sound better, but I don't want to spend time working on this. So I let AI give me a better version of what I want to say that sounds better.
Mhm.
So I'm using it, and I've adopted it. We're using it for graphics. We're using it for basic, graphic design elements. We're using it for general things. In the manufacturing world, I'm seeing it used a lot
Mhm.
for planning and some of these critical tasks that are starting to adopt it. It's quite exciting because it gives you, I mean, it's not 100% reliable yet, but it does help quickly open your perspective to the things that you're engaging with day to day and help give you a very quick answer on how else could I approach this planning scenario to get all these things done with the inventory that I
Mhm.
have. And they're integrating it everywhere. You see it rolling out now in software systems like the ones you work with. It's embedded. So it's, some customers are they're, oh, I don't need that AI, and like, I'm like, well, let's try it. It's like, how does it work? And you see it does some nice stuff. There's usually a few individuals in the organization that can't wait to see
Mhm.
what's next, and then you have some that are like, oh, no, we don't need that, we don't use that here. You've got these two extreme ends inside the same organization fighting, oh, we don't need it, on, and versus, oh, I want it tomorrow, it will it help me do my job better. I see it more and more. It's changing the way businesses think. It's changing the way businesses operate. It's changing the way the employees spend their time. And it may sound like the Department of Labor wouldn't really like the fact that you don't need more people to do the same thing, but a manufacturing organization is certainly excited to know that I don't need to keep adding headcount to do the same amount of work, as these mundane tasks are being automated in our everyday lives, and ERP systems and email systems, even order management systems. It's working great. And hey, AI, give me a report on my inventory. What's the average turns? Okay, and then bam, there you go. Wow. I'm not an accountant by any means either, and I use these tools to analyze financial statements very quickly, versus me having to go back to my textbook and pull out all the things that I learned 20 years ago. And it gives me ratios and things like that. It's exciting because I don't have the time to spend on that, yet I need the data. And I see customers in manufacturing and distribution using it on a regular basis. Some of the AI technologies I've seen for mapping and routing
Mhm.
for deliveries is really fascinating. Like, a lot of people use Waze. This is Waze on steroids, where it can map your delivery routes in a way that also accommodates for traffic patterns. And as we all know, in New York City, the traffic patterns can be
Yes,
quite
that's true.
extreme. And so being ahead of it by an hour is a really big advantage to get back to headquarters to finish your day.
Yes, yes, good points. Absolutely. And I like to actually also see what your predictions are for this year and coming years for manufacturing. How it's gonna be?
Oh, I think manufacturing is going to continue to grow. I think it's going to be a great career opportunities for engineers and people that like to make things. Because as much as we want to say the world is global, there still are things that need to be done in our backyard. Like the building supply industry is going to stay local. It doesn't make sense to truck materials all the way around the world. Uh, the local workforce for food is going to continue to grow. And as it's been growing tremendously since COVID, my busiest sector right now is related to food packaging, food production, and food transportation. And it's been busier and busier every year. And I see that more and more businesses are going to adopt more advanced ERP systems. Is there's still a number out there that are lagging behind with 20-year-old software, as you
Yes.
know, Kevin. Some of them are on the original versions of Sage after 25 years. I met a client the other day that's on a
Time to upgrade.
28-year-old
Yes.
version of Macola. Yeah, and so these upgrades are going to change the way these manufacturers operate. It's going to bring them into the 22nd century and open their eyes to the way to do business. I think the job market's going to grow in that area too, supporting these changes, and process improvement is key. So I think, and I've just this past week, there's been a lot of inquiries on lean manufacturing and process change, because real estate's getting more expensive, which means you need to use what you have more efficiently in order to sustain as well as thrive. And I see it continuing. So advancements in careers of change management, lean manufacturing, information systems that supports manufacturing, it's going to continue to grow, and this job market will continue to grow, and as well as the general people in the factory that are not just going to be doing tasks, but they're going to be running these automated machines. They're going to be supporting them. So I see a growth in the need for more advanced mechanics. We've launched a program that throughout New Jersey for training in PLCs, because many mechanics on the job 10 years, they don't know how to write the code to maintain the machine. So they debug by just changing parts. But that's not necessarily the way to fix it. So job markets for technical support for automated machinery, automation engineers, information structure engineers, general laborers in manufacturing will also increase, but you won't just be general anymore. You'll be running a $500,000 piece of machinery that's providing the business value and the customer's value. It's not picking things up and putting them down anymore. That those markets have shifted to more advanced manufacturing. So I see it continuing the same way as I've been seeing it over the past 5 years, ramping up. When you work in a warehouse, you're likely to be pressing more buttons now than carrying boxes and driving a forklift around.
Yes. Yes, no doubt. Ramping up. So that's definitely a positive
Yeah,
outlook in that sense. Um,
yeah. And the number one joke everybody makes is, after you make it more efficient, when we're not walking around the warehouse, is everyone going to get a gym membership? Because now they're not
yes.
walking 10 miles a day, they're standing in one place. And I say, well, the gym membership is on you, and what you do after work is on you. So sure, you want to go to the gym, sure, but I don't think that has anything to do with your day-to-day job in the warehouse, where you don't have to climb
Yes,
ladders
yes, that's
anymore.
true. That's true. Yeah, that's a great point. As you know, our most important mission in this podcast is to share wisdom and insights with the next generation workforce, next generation leaders coming up. And in that sense, what do you think about internships and apprenticeship programs for next generation to consider?
I think they're fantastic. I've reached out to my local community, but we haven't had any takers on how we do things from the local college, or local college Stevens, where I am, and also the local high school in Bergen County, where I am in New Jersey. But I think these apprenticeships and programs to get younger people engaged in manufacturing is critical, because it's not something you see advertised. Hey, join a career in manufacturing and make things. It's You see a lot of Amazon promotions to be an Amazon driver, an Uber driver, all these other things. But there is a real need to, I don't want to say glamorize, but at least make it aware that there's still a market for you to grow a career in this field. It doesn't have to be, a packer. It can be someone that's supporting automation technologies. It can be an engineer designing these facilities. It can be a production manager trying to get the most efficiency out of his assets and his business so that he can deliver on time. It's really important that we make more and more people aware of what's really going on in the world of manufacturing in America. It's not just what you see on the news. There's a whole lot more going on there. And I'm in it every day and I see all the different things, exciting stuff, how the world is changing, and sometimes it's stressful and sometimes it's exciting. But there's a lot going on here, and I think the more that we can make it known that there's a great opportunity here. It's not everything's coming from China and overseas. There's a lot of things being made here, and it's exciting and it's a great career field. And apprenticeships are key in order to staff this for long term, because we can't put a robot on everything. It's just, I mean, in 20 years, I'll be called a liar, but right now, I can't put a robot to do everything that a person can do. Maybe in 20 years, I'll be proven wrong, but right now, I can automate a lot of repetitive tasks, but I can't automate everything, especially complex shapes and assembly. You need a person to put that together. And these jobs pay well, and the benefits are great, and the environments of the working conditions are fantastic. You're not working in a cave like people see in these coal mine videos, or the
Yeah.
videos from the Industrial Revolution where there's no lights and
Yes.
no
Come
heat.
a long way.
Like, they don't look like that anymore. They're advanced manufacturing facilities with LED lighting, painted floors, air
Mhm.
conditioning, water coolers, and break rooms with
Mhm.
TVs and pizza parties and celebrations. Like, they're fantastic places to
Mhm.
work, and some are better than others, but it's a great field. I want to see more apprenticeship programs. Some of the ones that were launched years ago had a kind of a hard start in New Jersey. They were late adopted, so the interest kind of died off before it really got
Mhm.
moving. But it'd be great to see more of it. I think it's essential, bringing young people and even fresh graduates from engineering and other technical aspects into these apprenticeship programs, or while they're in school, like I did at Wentworth. We had mandatory co-ops, or you didn't graduate. So I did 4 of them, and 2 were mandatory. I learned a lot in the field about how manufacturing worked and manufacturing in America and what it really
Mhm.
looks like. Things that you don't see, the things that you don't see on TV.
Yes. Yes. And how important it is. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Oh, it's
Um,
critical.
well, we are almost completing our time. We've been talking almost 30 minutes. Hard to believe, right? Time flies, and it's very exciting. So one of the questions that I like to ask you and hear your insights is for the next generation. What are your suggestions for the next generation workforce, next generation leaders when they are choosing their career path and furthering their career paths?
Focus more on your soft skills and selling than just being the smartest person in the room. Because you can be the smartest person in the room and everyone disagree with everything you say because you don't know how to sell it. So a key feature I learned many years ago is, it's called keep the boss happy. You need to tell the boss what he wants to hear so his boss is happy, which makes him happy. And the better you sell this on any idea or on things that you want to do to change an organization, you have to start with yourself and how you're going to present this idea in a way that it's going to be received in a way that you want to be understood. So selling to your boss is critical. You can learn a million skills, but they will mean nothing if no one agrees with what you're trying to do. The pitch it doesn't have to be perfect, but you need to present. I'm not asking for something. I'm providing you an opportunity for the organization to thrive. And here's how I see this vision coming into reality. I've actually integrated these things into my lean teaching courses, where we do the how to keep the boss happy
Yes.
as a side note to every context, because we come up with great ideas all the
Mhm.
time, but if you don't sell it right, it just dies like many other great ideas. So learn how to sell. Learn how to sell your ideas, learn how to sell yourself. Otherwise, you'll get overlooked because you won't you won't get valued the same way that you deserve to be, because you need to present yourself in a way that makes you marketable and easy to communicate with and also well understood.
Absolutely. Managing up. Yes, definitely. Well, great insights, Eric. Thank you very much. So before we end our podcast session, how our followers and listeners can reach out to you? mails, that. Mhm.
Oh, you can find me on the internet. Just type my name, Eric Champoli. I come up in a lot of different places. It's www.ecicconsulting.com.
Eric, thank you very much. It's been a pleasure, and I'm sure for the next generation, it's been very insightful and helpful. Thank you very much for sharing your wisdom with us.